past year, my first as the artistic director of this incredible organization, has been a blast getting to know both the organization and the community and starting to realize some of the grand potential that's just looming for us to grasp onto. And the musicians and I have had an extraordinary amount of fun making music together and connecting with our audience, defining what an orchestra can and should be in the 21st century. And continuing, at least in the short term, to blur the lines between classical and pop's music and make sure that really music is music, and a Beethoven symphony can have the same, and does have the same, emotional impact as, say, Bon Jovi's It's My Life, or something by John Denver, as we talked about earlier, or Lady Gaga, or Tim McGraw. It's all music, and it all affects us in a deeply profound way and a very personal way. So, in my second season as artistic director, we promise a season that excites, inspires, educates, and continues to build partnerships and a greater sense of community right here. So we are growing. The season is called Horizons, and its very simple explanation is it just builds on our work that we've done this season and continues to look forward and to unite all that is possible. We have some exciting things on the horizon and some new partnerships and things that I'm really excited about. So I'm going to go very quickly through the season just to give you a taste of what's happening. First of which is in September, on September 30th, we have Bluegrass to Bohemia. Bluegrass to Bohemia. So for this, the key component of this program is a violinist, our guest soloist. Her name is Tessa Lark, and she was a colleague of mine when I was a student in Boston at the New England Conservatory, and just has really built a stellar career for herself since then. And she is Kentucky born and raised, and grew up playing bluegrass, grew up playing the fiddle, and really since then, and since going to sort of, school for classical music, of course in Boston, and I think at Juilliard and a few other places as well, she has been touring the world, and one time, one random conversation she had was with one of my favorite composers, Michael Torke, another living American composer, who I have always had an affinity for because of how his music just makes me feel like I'm in the present, like I'm in the moment. It's very rhythmic. It's got a lot of grooves in it. It's similar to, say, the Mason Bates that we did the past season, but in a very, very different way. There's no electronics or anything like that. But he just really has an exciting rhythmic component to his music. And so Tessa and Michael Torke had a conversation, and she asked him, will you write a piece, for me? And so he wanted to utilize her background. And so Bluegrass meets Michael Torke. So that is going to be a lot of fun. Just a snippet about the piece itself. It's an action-packed bluegrass meets rocket-fueled minimalism of Torke's concerto in this thigh-slapping energy of soloist Tessa Lark, and infectious pizzazz is a satisfying ride. So that's from Ken Walton on The Scotsman. So it's really going to be a lot of fun, that one piece. The big chunk of that program is another one of my favorite composers who, whenever we have a chance, I'd love to highlight, and that's Antonín Dvorak, who is a very famous Czech composer, and we're doing his 8th Symphony, which is just exuberance and optimism and just energy throughout. It's one of those symphonies that really captures the essence of Bohemia and where he lived, and just imagine being outside and just hearing the birds chirping or the wind going through the trees. It really, throughout the symphony, finds a way to incorporate all of those elements to create this unique sonic landscape. To start the program, I always find a way somehow to go back to cartoons. So one of the things that we sort of all have heard many times in many different formats, in many narrations, is the works of one of the first big rock star composers, and that's Franz Liszt. Liszt was this pianist who had these massive hands and played these recitals, and just, everyone in the audience, especially women, flocked toward him and ripped off his clothing, similar to the Elvises or whatnot. And but he created a great set of piano pieces. His 19 Rhapsodies, which at first were solo piano pieces, have been transcribed many times over for orchestra. So we're doing an adaptation of his Hungarian Rhapsody number 2, which I'm not a good singer, but I will give you a snippet because you know it, and you usually hear it when it's in a dueling piano arrangement, and that's the ba-dum bum bum 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 ba-dum bum bum. So it starts with those powerful sort of forceful chords, ba-dum ba-ba, yada-dee-dee, ba-ba, yada-dee-dee-da. So that music is going to start and kick off this entire season. So that's Bluegrass to Bohemia on September 30th. From that, we go to our, of course, beloved tradition now, Christmas in Tulsa, and you can expect all of the same energy that we had this year. Of course, 2 performances. We're going to be partnering again with the Tulsa Opera Signature Chorale, and hopefully we will also feature one of our Tulsa Sings winners, so look out for that. But just a lot of favorites combined with probably some things that you don't expect, just like this past year, and maybe even an appearance by Santa, so we'll see. But there will, even if I have to dress up as him. Now, one of the concerts that I'm really excited about, and probably the newest one, this is our additional concert for this coming season. And this concert, which will be January 27th and also the 28th at University of Tulsa, is called Inspirations, and I'm delighted to to be starting this partnership with the Tulsa Youth Symphony, and to create an opportunity that I didn't really have as a young musician, where they actually will sit on stage with the Signature Symphony for the first part of the program and play a side-by-side program with us on 3 pieces. So those 3 pieces that those young musicians will join us for are, well, the biggest one is by Ralph Vaughan Williams, very famous English composer, and this piece called Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis is absolutely one of the most gorgeous pieces of music that I know of. Dare I say, my most favorite sort of melodic bass piece in all of the repertoire. So I'm very excited. It's a string orchestra piece that actually calls for a double orchestra and a string quartet. So it's going to be all the strings of the Signature Symphony with the strings of the Tulsa Youth Symphony, and what will probably be a very packed stage full of string players. And really, he was inspired by this melody by Thomas Tallis, which is much earlier than what he was writing, and transformed it in a way that is just unforgettable. So we have that. We're also featuring the composer Astor Piazzolla, king of the tango. With Piazzolla, there's one of the famous ones that seem to jump around from orchestra to orchestra, and that's the Libertango. It's very rhythmic, lively, and fun. So they're going to join us with that. What I'm also really excited about is to get out my own instrument, the saxophone, and I'm going to play and conduct another short piece by Piazzolla. So, and that's not on your description that you have there, but I'm going to play one of his 6 tango etudes. His number 1. So if you haven't seen it before, I will be actually leading from the saxophone while conducting, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So you can't miss that concert. The big piece on that program that will be exclusively the Signature Symphony strings and percussion is an adaptation of Bizet's Carmen. So Russian composer Rodion Shchedrin, who was a pianist and spent his life as an artist maneuvering these vast Soviet restrictions, created this one-act ballet in 1967 from Bizet's original Carmen, of course, about a soldier, Don Jose, who is seduced by Carmen, and then subsequently spends the rest of the time pursuing her. So this is a take on that, and it was a one-act ballet actually written for his wife, who was a dancer as well. And so that is just an incredible take on Bizet's Carmen, and you'll hear all of your favorite tunes all throughout that. And that'll be just a lot of fun, especially the first part, having the Youth Symphony members experiencing what we experience with our concerts. After that, after Inspirations, we have a concert that I'm very excited about. In February, actually it's March 2nd. On March 2nd, 2024, we have a concert called Inevitable Beethoven, The Struggle for Creation. So Beethoven was one of those composers who really and honestly affected every single composer after him, and if you're thinking about it that way, affected all the music we hear today. And his most inspirational work, and the work that was hardest to get to, was of course his Ninth Symphony, a piece that in 1824 really transformed what a symphony could and should be. And composers like Johannes Brahms were left with this enormous shadow and spent years just trying to create their first symphony because of all the pressure that Beethoven had put on them. But the journey to the Ninth Symphony in Beethoven's life is something that is a true struggle, a true sort of against all odds story. And I thought, we need to do something special with this. Many years ago, I was in New York one time, and I went to a theater production, and it was different. It was, I believe the name of it was called Sleep No More. And what was special about it, it was interactive, and as an audience member, you walk in with a group, and you don a mask, and then in this old 3-story hotel, you follow different scenes of different Shakespeare plays. So that particular one was Macbeth, and you walk in, and there's something happening here and something happening here, and it takes a few hours to finally go through and follow all of the actions and then piece it all together. And I thought, how can we make this into a symphonic experience? So what we came up with is we're partnering with a very iconic local director, Vern Stefanik. Am I pronouncing Stefanik? I'm terrible with last names. Vern Stefanik, and he and I got together and we started brainstorming. How can we bring Beethoven's life to life? And the ideas that we started coming up with were just so exciting. And what's going to happen is we're going to create as much as possible an immersive experience of Beethoven's life. So when you first get to the hall, you're going to already have actors around you sort of pulling you in to what it was like when he was living. And then you go in the hall and other things will be happening. And the first part of the concert will be sort of Beethoven himself. And you'll get to sort of crawl inside his mind, what he was thinking during this process, things that he experienced that led up to the composition of the Ninth Symphony. And so you'll have snippets of some other pieces throughout his life. And you'll get more into the details of the struggle where, where he was getting so deaf and he just couldn't take it all, and even contemplated taking his own life. And the sheer will that pushed him past that to get to that point in the 1820s, where he finally had this idea with that one simple melody that we all know, and how it really blossoms throughout the entire Ninth Symphony and becomes something much greater, and sort of this icon for humanity and for coming together and community and brotherhood and all of those things that, especially coming out of our global pandemic, we all are still striving to get back toward. So we have Vern and his brilliant mind coming together with various actors, and we're also partnering with the Tulsa Opera Signature Chorale, of course. We're partnering with the University of Tulsa Chorale, and with our very own TCC Chorus. Our soloists are either from Tulsa or have an Oklahoma connection, and we have Whitney Myers on soprano, who has done things with the Tulsa Opera, Dallas Opera, Roanoke Opera, Marble City Opera, Millennium Opera, et cetera, et cetera. On mezzo-soprano, we have Maddie Breedlove, who was the voice of the Heartland in 2018, is currently a Philstrup resident artist with the Tulsa Opera. On tenor, we have J. Warren Mitchell, who was hailed as the new young Pavarotti. and has captivated audiences in the U.S. with those juicy tenor sounds and a winning smile. So you can look forward to that. Currently resides in Oklahoma City. On bass baritone, we have Elliot Wolf, who has lived in Tulsa since 2018 and teaches future generations of singers in the area. He has also appeared with several opera companies and joins Tulsa Opera this season. So a lot of amazing guests and just what will hopefully be a one-of-a-kind experience for you all at the Symphony on March 2nd. And of course, no Signature Symphony season would be complete without Tulsa Sings. As I said to our wonderful board earlier, Tulsa Sings is one of those things that really drew me to the Symphony to begin with. That to see something in place and that brings in, of course, Scott Coulter from New York, an incredible artist and personality, to come work with aspiring talent and established talent in Tulsa, to work with them and to bring this experience, this concert to life, is just one of a kind and really defines what the Signature Symphony is and will continue to be in how it interacts with the community. So Tulsa Sings this coming year, the theme will be Best of Broadway. For all of you Broadway lovers, this is the concert for you to go to. So, of course, lots of pieces that span decades of Broadway's greatest hits. And of course, audience will vote on their favorites. We'll have our celebrity judges in place as well, and it's just going to be a ton of fun, which hopefully highlights the entire season for you. So yeah, that is our season in a nutshell. Our goal is to have something for everyone and to have something that you want to come see, and really something that you leave the concert not knowing that you wanted to see. But hopefully, when we have a conversation after the fact, it's, wow, I had no idea who this composer or what that piece was, but I'm really happy you programmed it. And of course, every season that I program, our goal is to also take as much feedback from the orchestra, from our board, from the community, and to really try to create something that you want to come listen to and experience. So if there's ever anything that you are craving and desiring to hear right here at the Signature Symphony, please have that conversation with me, because there are lots of seasons to play with in the future, and that's pretty much it. So if there are any questions about this season, I'll take those. Otherwise, I look forward to kicking it off on September 30th. All right, that was easy. Thank you all for joining us.